This particular story has just come to a head today, largely thanks to the persistently predictable actions of this story's antagonist, who we'll call Kevin. Around a year ago-ish, I moved into a new apartment, not in a great part of the city, but could be considered bang average. When I first moved in, I was assured everything would be rosy and I'd be left to my own devices. Enter Kevin. Kevin is a total jerk. He has shared custody of his son, which is frankly an oversight of the legal system, but hey, and he absolutely loves to get plastered and scream at the kid, either via phone or in person. The kid is around 13, I think, and his name's not totally important, mainly because the kid's got enough grief. This went on for about 2-3 months, so I tried befriending Kevin, mostly because I'm an idiot, but also to find out just what his issue was, because having headphones in on max volume listening to heavy metal and still being able to hear him screaming was becoming an issue. I put up with it for a bit, mentioning it in passing to who I guess is my building manager. He's really just a guy that's lived there for years and is mates with the landlord, and he's retired, so can't really blame him for not wanting to get involved. He did mention that Kevin had lived here for about 5 years and had numerous complaints, including the previous tenant who'd moved out because she'd had enough of his nonsense. He also mentioned that Kevin had shared custody because his ex was also a bit of a loser, like seriously, that poor kid, but as such meant an absolute load of social workers were involved, even if they clearly weren't very good at their jobs. Anyways, one day, Kevin was screaming at the top of his lungs again and again because I'm an idiot. I poked the ceiling with a broom. Just a little tap to say, "Hey, friend." Just a quick, polite note to tell you that the whole neighborhood can hear you, which was greeted by 5 thuds that sounded like he was about to bunker bust clean through the ceiling. This naturally got me angry, so I knocked on his door and he simply opened it and told me to get lost. Fair enough, I thought, as I frankly had better stuff to do, so I went for a walk. Upon return, Kevin is putting his bins out and starts to give me grief, which I returned in kind, causing him to square up to me and threaten to kill me. I held my ground and he started going on about respect and stuff. Oh, no, really, and told me he held all the cards and there was nothing I could do, but I simply said if that's how you want to be, then that's how it is, and left him to have his little fit outside. First call was to the police, who took it surprisingly seriously. They came out within an hour, and we sat in the Panda car and discussed all of Kevin's transgressions, a lot of which I had recorded, mainly to WhatsApp to my friends, like, "Hey, Kevin is at it again." They took a statement, said there was likely nothing they could do, but they might investigate Kevin on the count of the child abuse and the social worker in place. I then asked them if evidence would help, and they replied it'd save them a lot of time if I could get some, but would need to be recent. Last 3 months, okay, sure they say, but 3 months is a long time, and he might have changed. No, Mr. Policeman Officer, I mean covering the last 3 months. Excited he was, to say the least. So they brought me to the station to give a statement and to copy all the evidence off my phone. At this point, big shout out to old phones and removable SD cards, as I really didn't want to explain my meme collection. They spent the next 2, maybe 3 months investigating Kevin, as there's a lot of banging to be heard in the videos. A few months go by, and I'm seeing a lot of open immediately. Do not ignore type letters arriving in Kevin's name, which I think might be off the social workers, but not sure. I do feel particularly bad about this bit, as being a violently abusive alcoholic, he's not quite smart enough to realize it's me that's making his life suck because the social are on him like a skid mark on a toilet, and he's just screaming at his kid even more because he thinks the kid has grassed him up. Eventually, the police have everything in place and serve him with some sort of behavioral order or something like that, which frankly wasn't a whole lot, but that was more an aperitif for the meal the social were about to make. Yesterday, armed with a bunch of evidence, a bunch of people, 2 uniformed officers and my landlord, they arrived at his flat. Partly because that's the only time my landlord was free, and probably partly because Saturday pay for cops and social workers must be fairly decent. Also partly because he has his kid on weekends. Actually, probably the main reason now that I think about it. Since Kevin has the kind of voice that makes Brian Blessed sound like a cross between a mime and a church mouse, they can hear everything immediately. They go up into the tight hallways, which is kinda funny because they're all trying to social distance, so it kinda looks like they're queuing up to give Kevin a bollocking in true British fashion. It ended with Kevin being led away in cuffs because, of course, he fought back. The guy's a jerk. It's totally in his nature. They've also heard some of the Dolby surround phone conversations and have now charged him with a bunch of stuff I frankly don't understand, but has had and will have several knock-on effects. Firstly, no more contact with his kid, a minor victory since his mum is a bit of a loser herself, but they're under a microscope now, so maybe that'll help. Secondly, my landlord was especially not chill about being contacted by both me and the police regarding Kevin. So is using one of the charges or something to speed up the eviction process. This is annoyingly still going to take about 2 weeks, but I'm sure I'll live, meaning it's not the current 6-month COVID guidelines. Thirdly, he's going to have to go in tomorrow and tell his boss that he's gonna need multiple dates off in the possible near future for court dates, etc. Woofed. Tough break in this economy. That's likely gonna cost too, especially since I've seen a bunch of letters from the Provident arriving for him. For those outside the UK, the Provident is kinda like the OG version of those short-term loans with insane interest rates. All this could have been avoided had Kevin just not been, well, a jerk. So I've never posted on here before, but I just had to after what this lady at my work did today. I work in Janitorial at a factory, and unfortunately, this means that people tend to be jerks because they see me as someone below them. Well, I take pride in doing my job well, and my bosses say I'm one of their best. For the last few months, though, some lady, let's call her Jane, at the factory I clean, keeps complaining about every little thing to my bosses, whether it be true or not. Well, recently, she's been lying to my bosses and saying I don't ever clean the ladies' room despite the fact that literally anyone could tell that I have since it'd be disgusting otherwise. I know the factory doesn't allow restroom breaks very often, so I always let the women use the bathroom even if I'm actively cleaning it to be nice. I mean, who wants to hold their pee for several hours? Well, because Jane complained enough, a new rule was put in place that means I now can't let anyone into the bathroom as I clean it until I've finished. Jane is notorious for overusing her time in the bathroom to skip out on work, so needless to say, there have been a few times she started leaving her area to use the bathroom. Given how thoughtful Jane has been about making sure I do my job properly, I've taken to making sure to always be cleaning the ladies' room and the break room whenever she needs it. The first time was the best, so let me share that with you. I came out of the bathroom that I'm cleaning to grab some more of my supplies only to find Jane there waiting. Jane is frowning like usual. Hey, could I use the bathroom? I really have to go and the other bathroom is under maintenance right now. I put on my best fake apologetic smile and shake my head. I'm sorry, but I can't let anyone into the bathroom until I'm fully finished cleaning it. I'd say you could wait, but I wouldn't want you to get into trouble for standing around doing nothing. Jane scowled at me. It won't take long. Can't you just move the sign for now? Once again, I shake my head as I gather up the supplies I need. No can do. I have a schedule to stick to and can't go against company rules. I wouldn't want anyone to think I'm not doing my job correctly after all. Jane was getting pissed at this point, but I couldn't care less. I pushed open the bathroom room and gave her one more oh-so-apologetic smile before heading in. I'll try and hurry so you can use it soon, but there is only so much I can do. Sorry, Jane. Then I went into the bathroom and took the longest time I could to clean it. By the time I came out again, Jane was gone and I couldn't have felt happier. I knew she'd have to wait. Who knows how long until her next bathroom break, and the thought of that makes me grin so much. I still do it whenever I can, and there is absolutely nothing she can do in retaliation, either besides give me the stink eye. I work for the Orange Home Improvement Company. Better yet, I work at the returns customer service counter, so my stories are endless. This one, though, pretty much tops them all. Tuesday night, Kevin calls into the store and is transferred to the paint department. The poor person working at the paint desk, Mitch, takes the call. Normally, this is a simple call. At first, Kevin wanted to know if we had X number of a certain color spray paint. He tells him we only have 7. He responds with, "Can you check and make sure?" To which Mitch replies that he did. After all, Mitch does know his department. However, he did offer to hold those 7 cans for him at the customer service desk. Remember that. Apparently, though not having a certain quantity available at the snap of his fingers angers Kevin, "Hey, what do you expect?" And it gets to the point where he calls him jerk over the phone and then hangs up. "You thought that was the end of it? Huh, now it's Wednesday afternoon. I'm working up at the desk and guess who walks up to me? Kevin, our favorite customer." First off, he looks like he's the mad scientist from Back to the Future, almost a perfect match. At first, he is polite and explains that he had paint cans being held for him, which I turned around to grab. He then decides to go over to the paint department, and poor Mitch is working again. Kevin stops at the paint counter, asks once again about the paint cans, oblivious to the fact that he's talking to Mitch. Mitch says that he remembers Kevin from the phone call last night, at which point Kevin gets super angry at Mitch, and they sorta get into a shouting match. Expletives from Kevin every second. Kevin storms back to the desk and demands the manager, saying that Mitch was cursing at him and was, again, a jerk. Both of which are not true. Our managers are very busy people, so we try not to call them as much as we can. So my supervisor, Mary, tries to reason with him, politely trying to explain how an inventory system works and that we don't have any more cans and, no, we don't have a back either that we can check in. Our store's back is a receiving department where there are literally just pallets and orders that got shipped to the store. Kevin's getting angrier and louder to the point where the entire desk and customers are turning their heads to see what raging lunatic is running wild through the store. Mary does her best, but Kevin's not satisfied, so we call one of the assistant managers. The interaction was literally a carbon copy of the interaction with Mary, and the manager is getting nowhere. They even tell him to leave, and he, of course, refuses. The store manager is also called, and she also asks him to leave with the same response. At this point, Kevin is being a major disruption to the store. He storms away from the desk, and it happens to be the end of my shift, so I head to our break room to pack my stuff up and clock out. Now, our break room and offices are all tucked away in a secret second floor with an unmarked staircase, all the signs that scream, "You don't belong up here," but Kevin thinks he does. As I'm walking up the stairs, Kevin has made his way up and is trying to find Mitch. Luckily, he's in one of our comfy recliners in the corner of the break room, which is obstructed by the lockers. As soon as he sets foot upstairs, he is met with our HR lady, who doesn't take any of Kevin's nonsense and escorts him back downstairs, where the supervisors and managers are waiting. Kevin has now refused to leave a number of times, so the store manager pulls the card that is our last resort. I'm calling the police, to which Kevin freaks out and starts storming off to the door, with the manager walking behind him to see him off. As I make my way back downstairs to leave, I walk past my manager, say my goodbyes, and get greeted by Kevin screaming, "I'm going to call corporate and you will be fired through the front door." I continue to make my way to my car, and Kevin is still at the door when I start up my car. He finally retreats to his car and speeds off, and he hasn't come back since. Crazy guy.